Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mom's View. Before we get into it, we're so excited to have our guest, Becky Douglas, here with us. And as always, we have Colette and Kaylee. And today is going to be a really fun, heartwarming episode. We just thought, with the holidays in mind, what could the Mom's View do to get involved with giving back? I feel like when you have a platform, I don't know about you guys, but I always feel like we have some kind of responsibility to give back. So we have an amazing schedule planned in mind for you guys for the holidays with some charities that we want you guys to get involved in along with us. And I met Becky 2 years ago. It's a really crazy story, and we're going to keep it short. But basically, my OB's wife introduced us, and then we wanted to get these guys involved. And so then I was like, you have to come be on the Mom's View and tell your story. It's pretty incredible. So Becky is the president and founder of Rising Star Outreach. She is a wife and a mother of 10. Which I was like, we need a whole other episode about being a mom of 10. I wanted to kind of dabble into the charity and what it does and what it's about, but I feel like I'll rob you of the good details, and I don't want to mess anything up. So why don't you tell us how Rising Star Outreach came about and just the story behind it all and what it is.
Okay, well, so I have 10 children, and my oldest daughter, Amber, was severely bipolar, and she struggled in and out of mental institutions for about 7 years, and she finally gave up, and she took her own life, and she was in college at the time. When we went through her things, we found that she'd been sending part of the money we gave her for college every month to support an orphan in India. Wow. I think maybe because she suffered so much, she just had a tender spot for the underdog. But anyway, so at her funeral, instead of having people send flowers, we said, why don't you just send money to this little orphanage? And people were so generous, and enough money was sent in that they asked me to be on the board of directors. And so I thought, okay, if I'm on this board, maybe I need to go to India and see what it is I'm doing. So I went to India, and the kids in the orphanage were darling. But every day as we would go from our hotel to the orphanage and then back again on the streets of Chennai, every time our car stopped at a stoplight, these beggars with rotting hands and feet and no eyes and open gaping wounds would crawl up to our car to beg. And I just had never seen anything like it. They literally, at one stoplight, we had a man put his hand in the window with maggots crawling through his hand. I couldn't even look at him. I mean, it just hurt to look at him. And I just said to our driver, who are these people? There just seem to be thousands of them. And he said, oh, those are the lepers. And I said, shut up, there's no leprosy in the world. He goes, yeah, we have millions in India.
Yeah, when you told me the story, I was like, this is a story you hear about in the Bible. This isn't still happening. I had no idea.
Yeah, but it turns out he was right. I mean, there are literally millions of people in India affected by leprosy. So I got home, and that idea of millions of people living that way, I mean, those images just haunted me at night, and I couldn't sleep. So I started, after a few days of just being sleepless, I remember just thinking, why doesn't somebody do something?
Right, yeah.
And then one morning I thought, well, you're somebody. Do something. So I got up. I called 3 of my friends who were also housewives, dragged in my husband's secretary. We met around my kitchen table, and we started Rising Star Outreach.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, so that was in 2001, and today it's a multi-million-dollar charity serving tens of thousands of people in India. Who knew that this would have happened? Yeah, it's so pretty crazy.
Incredible. So it is a nonprofit, and one thing I was reading up about the charity is that this is really cool to me. Will you explain? So it supports microfinance to help like the people that are affected so they can kind of be self-sufficient. But I wasn't quite sure what microfinance meant, and I read into it a little bit, but I'm too afraid to explain it because I might get it wrong. But I thought that this was, like goes with that saying, like if you teach a man to fish, he'll be fed for his whole life. So will you tell us what that means?
So we do microfinance differently than other people. The people that we met have been begging on the street for literally thousands of years. I mean, the leprosy affected in India have been. And banks won't make them loans. So like other people that do microfinance through banks, we can't do it that way. So the way it works at Rising Star is really quite interesting. We get 5 women and we form them into a women's self-help group, but they have to create their own money. So they each put into their little bank that we make 10 rupees a month out of their begging money, which is about 16 cents.
Wow.
Which seems like nothing to you and me, but that's a lot of money to someone that's living on the streets. Because in Chennai, the average beggar makes between right? That and then those days was between $8 and $12 a month, so 16 cents is a lot of money, right? And then when they get enough money to make their first loan, like maybe $5 for an iron or something, then one woman takes the money, she starts an ironing business. And then when she's able to pay it back, she pays it back. And then the next woman takes it and she starts a little business.
Oh, wow.
And before long, those 5 women have more money than anyone in the colony because our average micro business earns between $100 and $300 a month, at least initially. Now they're earning a lot more. But so that was a huge difference. So then all the men wanted to come join, right? And we actually let them. But we taught the women that if a man came for a loan that was known to brutally beat his wife, no loans till the beatings had stopped. Or if a man came for a loan that was known to have raped several girls in the colony, again, no loans till the rapes had stopped. Right. So literally these women were taking charge of their lives in ways they had never done before in history.
It's amazing.
And it was really remarkable what it did to the women and to the colonies themselves.
Yeah.
But so now we've created more than 1,000 businesses. And you can honestly go to Chennai today and be there for a week and not see a single leprosy beggar come up to your car to beg.
Wow.
That's great.
So I've seen that change is truly possible, right?
Right.
So that's one of the things we do so they can live with dignity. They can be productive citizens of India. And you're treated totally differently if you're not a beggar than if you're a beggar.
Oh, 100%.
So they have a reason to wake up in the mornings now, right?
Cooper and I had this conversation because I feel like, I don't know if it's the holidays around this time of the year, but you see more people, or maybe they just catch your attention, they're begging or, asking for money. And I had to have that hard conversation with him because I think as you get older, you learn that you can't always trust those people, you don't know what their intentions are. And it's such a weird thing to have to battle inner with yourself. Like, are they going to use this money for the right thing? Or you've seen those documentaries where they take the money and they go buy drugs. And so we had to have this conversation. And I said, buddy, the real thing that we should teach these people is give them an opportunity. Like, we should put them in our car and have them come to our house and work for that money and earn it, because then they'll appreciate it. But then my mind just spins down this other, like, well, what if they came to our house and they were, so I love that about the charity, that it really just teaches them self-sufficiency. And what an example if those women have children, to show their children that they need to work for that money.
Yeah.
And just kind of really stimulate the economy over there and just,
I totally agree. And there's actually one other kind of level of that. Our partner in India used to be the daughter of the president of India. I mean, she's still the daughter of him, but he used to be president. Anyway, she's darling. Her name's Padma. And one time we run mobile medical clinics too. And every time I came, the wounds to me looked the same. And I said to our doctor, we're paying you all this money. Why are the wounds not healing up? And he said to me, Becky, the patients never do anything I ask. I said, what? Why? No, why is that, right?
Let this mom take care of it.
And he said, well, ask Padma. I said, Padma, what's all this about? And she said, you Americans. She said, you come to India.
You Americans.
and you just give things away. She says, I know it probably makes you feel good. But she said, when you give something to someone, you diminish that person. She says, you're really just making them beggars to you, right?
Yeah.
And she said, if you really want to help them take responsibility for their own well-being and take care of themselves, because that's what will give them a sense of being a real person.
Right.
So that's why it's so important that we don't just give them food, or we don't just give them medicine, we just don't give them anything. The funny thing is, in our medical clinic, when we started charging them 2 rupees to see the doctor, so 1.5 American cents, right? Suddenly they started doing everything the doctor told them.
Okay. Wow. That's interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So put responsibility on their shoulders.
On them.
Yeah.
I mean, they thought they were paying for their medical care, and so then they started taking responsibility for themselves. They were
incredible.
invested in it.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is a
Can
simple
you do
principle.
anything for leprosy?
Yeah, it's treatable. And so all of our patients are treated. They're all cured. But there's our after effects. If you don't catch it early, it destroys the nervous system.
Right.
And so then they don't have any pain to protect them, and they injure themselves. I mean, I've watched them pick up hot pots off a fire.
Oh, wow.
And they think the leprosy is destroying their hands. They're really just burning their hands.
Oh, wow.
So part of it's education. But once you don't have pain and you get injured, well, I mean, they live in these filthy colonies. So then they get infected. Then gangrene sets in. The maggots move in.
Wow.
And we end up having to amputate. But it's not because the leprosy is active. It's because the after effects.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So everyone we work with is treated. There's no one that has active leprosy.
Tell us more about like the education, because I remember when we had talked at dinner and you were telling me about just like the background, that there were even parents who had, and maybe this is wrong, I remember this wrong, so correct me, that had leprosy, but they were outcasts because they were affected. So even their children, even though if their children didn't have leprosy, the whole family was kind of looked down upon. So then their children were suffering, and kind of like that cycle was continuing of being beggars. And so you guys actually started a school, correct, for the children?
Yeah, so it's true. In India, the caste system is outlawed, but it's still very active. I mean, it's one of those things that, like we say in America, you can't be discriminatory. We're all discriminatory. I mean, like it's everywhere. And it's the same way in India. And in the Indian caste system, the untouchable caste, was untouchables, but the very bottom of that caste were the leprosy affected, because it's considered to be a curse of God. And they figure if you have leprosy, you have been the worst person ever, so God gave you a curse.
Oh.
And so if your grandmother had it, then all the generations following her would be in that untouchable caste, right?
Wow.
And so the social stigma is a huge, huge thing. And the parents use the kids as beggars because people give more to children that beg than they do to adults, right? So they were really just becoming that next generation of leprous beggars on the street. And we thought, if we're going to stop it, we've got to stop it at this generation. So we did. We needed to start a school. And we started a school initially, we rented a house. It had one bedroom. We put a mat out. It was enough for 27 little kids. Just like shoulder to shoulder on this mat, right? And then we had hundreds and hundreds on our waiting list. So then we finally bought 16 acres and created a full campus. So we now have 350 kids on that campus, but altogether we're now educating 1,150 students.
Wow.
And
That's awesome.
we have 52 in college this year, 54, excuse me.
Wow.
And next year we're adding 72 more. So here's the fun thing. As we got our school going, we partnered with Harvard. And they sent us 4 world teach teachers, and they taught our Indian teachers how to teach, because in India they teach by rote memory basically. And so we wanted our kids to learn problem solving and critical thinking. So they came and taught our teachers how to teach. And then we got a principal who had been a part-time professor at Duke University, and she came for several years. And finally, 5 years ago, based on the national exam scores, we were ranked number 1. Our school in our district of almost 500 schools. We beat out all the prestigious private schools, all the rich kids growing up at home speaking English. These little kids that have been begging on the street and not even toilet trained when they came to us. They couldn't read or write their name in any language. And now they were beating out the very top kids in the Indian educational system.
That's amazing.
So we have them, and then we have another however many 700, 800 kids on perpetual education grants that are all going to school. And that's another fun program. But so altogether we have 1,150 kids in school, and we're just opening a new campus in Bihar for 600 more students.
That's
so
amazing,
it's just growing. And when I talked to you 2 years ago, we had just the one campus and the one project. We're now in 11 states of India in the last 2 years.
That's
Just in 2 years,
It is just growing like crazy.
This woman, I tell you, she's
That's
unstoppable.
wonderful.
Isn't that fun?
All from, well, I'm somebody. Why don't I do something
I'm
about
somebody,
it?
exactly.
I feel like that's like a phrase that you would I want to print and frame or tattoo or something, I'm somebody, I should do something.
But I mean, even like with just the medical, it seems like such a simple thing, but doctors won't touch them because they are untouchables. And the doctor doesn't want to become defiled because he would lose the rest of his practice, right?
Right.
So actually at
So
first,
it's not necessarily that they would get leprosy. It's
no,
just that
they don't want that stigma.
They don't want the stigma.
Because leprosy is not contagious.
Well, it is contagious.
It is contagious.
But it's a microbacteria, and it has a genetic component. So you can't really catch it unless you carry the marker. And it's believed that less than 5% of the world carries that marker. We've had more than 1,000 volunteers in India. No one's ever gotten leprosy. And I've been 60 times. And I don't have leprosy. So it's actually pretty hard. Even if you carry the marker and you're exposed, it takes a compromised immune system for it to take hold in your body. So it's not that contagious. It's scary.
Right.
You look at it and it's such a scary disease. That's why they're so outcast. People are just afraid of them.
Right.
But so in order for them to fit into society, they have to look normal.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why we do so much medical work. But with our clinics now this year, we'll give 40,000 medical treatments.
That's awesome.
A lot of surgeries, a lot of limb reconstructions, artificial limbs. I mean, it's remarkable what's
really
possible, you know?
It is. So what can the average person do to help?
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
For all of you watching, listen.
Yeah.
Listen up.
actually, it's very easy. And it's a really fun way to get involved on a very simple level. And that is just to sponsor a child in one of our schools. And the way it works is it's $30 a month. You know, it's like a trip to McDonald's for your family. I mean, it's like nothing. But you go and you get online. And what a lot of families do is they'll look for a child that has the same birthday as their kids, right? And then they'll have that child sponsor the child. Well, $30 a month is too much for kids. So a lot of parents will just say, okay, I'll tell you what, you earn $5 a month to sponsor this child and we'll pick up the rest. And that way the
Get your
kid
family
feels like
involved.
they're,
Yeah, I love that.
and they feel like, oh, they have the same birthday I have, and they can email back and forth. And now starting this year, they can Skype, which is awesome.
That's
That's
awesome.
so cool.
Yeah, so they just feel like they're just connected to this person in India. So I just have to tell you, this is so fun. So since our kids started doing so well in school, so we were afraid no one would ever hire them, right? Because they're untouchables.
Yeah.
But so our first graduating class, we had 10 students, and 4 of them qualified for medical school.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing.
And so we have kids in engineering school. We have a girl going to law school this year. We have all these amazing things, and we've partnered with these groups. So, for example, the hospital that does our surgeries, they give the scholarships for the kids that qualify for medical school, and then they've agreed to hire them when they graduate.
Wow.
And the same with the law firm and the same with the engineering firm that's doing it for our engineering students. So they all have jobs when they graduate.
That is so awesome.
Isn't that amazing? You take a
about
child
change
that's a
the world.
beggar, right?
Yeah.
And you let them dream for the first time ever.
Yes.
And then you give them what it takes to fulfill those dreams. So it's a very rewarding, fun thing to
Jeez
do.
Louise. I feel so behind in my life right now. Can you imagine? I mean, it's going to be hard for me to even say this, but because of your daughter, because of her charity she had, just that simple act, it literally has changed so many people's lives in a country. That's so incredible. You must be so proud of her.
I am. And Carly, it's interesting because when we talk about healing, who do you think is the most healed person of all?
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
Right? Losing a child is something that most parents never get over.
Yeah.
Right.
And I feel like my life is full and rich. And when I go to India, I feel like she's there.
Totally.
Actually, one of our little girls' dorm, the people that paid for it, they got to name it, and they named it the Amber Douglas Home for Girls, which is so cute, right? So every time I go there, her picture is there, and I just get chills clear down to my toenails thinking, all these hundreds of girls that will go through this dorm over time, and their lives will be so vastly different, and then their children's lives and their children's children's lives. And so you're talking about tens of thousands of people being affected because my daughter suffered.
Wow.
Yes.
So yeah, it's been a neat thing.
Oh, I just get a lump in my throat. I can't even keep talking about it.
I know.
So we asked on Instagram for a few questions for you, and this one is from Everly Jude, and she asked how you decided to start your organization, but we covered that. So another one is there a volunteer program, and can anyone volunteer, or do you need certain educational insights into leprosy?
Okay, that's a great question. So we have sent thousands of volunteers to India over the years. India right now is tightening the volunteer opportunities. And so we're having to be a lot more careful in sending volunteers over. What we're doing now is sending volunteers to the new campus that we're starting.
Okay.
And the old campus, or the original campus, all those teachers are trained and are doing such a good job now that we really don't need that same level of interaction. But in this new area, there's a lot of need. So if someone is interested in volunteering, go onto our website, risingstaroutreach.org, and there's a little thing that says volunteer. Click on it, and it will will send you to someone to talk to. Her name's Chalet, and she'll talk to you and figure out if there's a way for you to come. We'd love for you to be involved with this. It's truly a life-changing experience to go over there. And
I've been trying to go for
volunteer.
2 years in a row, but I've been pregnant 2 years So this year I'm feeling like it's going to be my year.
Okay. Well, but be prepared to do some things you've never imagined. I mean,
Right.
for years, our volunteers would be down on their hands and knees cleaning out leprosy wounds.
Yeah.
You know, things that, and tutoring the children in the schools because we all speak good English. Well, relatively, right?
Right.
And so, and even people that would bring their kids would be tutoring the other kids in English.
What an
right?
amazing opportunity.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. But right now, we're really just sending volunteers to the newest campus. So call, write, whatever, and we'll see if we can find a way to hook you up.
Amazing.
So, Becky, is it possible to just donate without sponsoring a child?
Yeah.
Or-
So some people don't want a monthly commitment,
Right.
right? They want to just do a one-time thing. And there's all kinds of ways you can donate to the microfinance. You can donate to the medical field. You can donate to the school itself. There's a lot of, I mean, you go online and there's limitless ways that you can just donate. And it's easy. You know, it's very easy to do. And there's a lot of ways. Just getting involved. A lot of people, like, we make these wound self-care kits for people to clean their own wounds and every single day. And doing things like that and then sending them to our office, and our
that's
office
a
can
great
take those
thing to
over.
do.
Or
That is great.
some people, one lady made pajamas for all of our kids because they didn't have any pajamas, right? But I mean, just there's all kinds of ways you can get
That
involved.
is awesome. So, if we go to your website, can we see, like, do you guys have videos?
Oh, we have so many videos. Yes, we have a lot of videos. Yes, you can do that. And one question I actually get a lot is, so what happens to my money? Right?
You're like, what does this money go for? Where's it going?
What is it going for? And so we have been really lucky at Rising Star. You know what? American salaries are so up here compared to Indian salaries.
Right,
yeah.
And it just seems like you can do so much in India with $5.
Right.
And so I've had a hard time morally paying American salaries and stuff here in order for us to have an organization that we can use to eliminate poverty in India. The way we dealt with that is I have this fabulous board of directors. And so every year I bring to our board meeting, our annual meeting, what our expenses were for the year. And my board of directors gets out their wallets and they pay for those out of pocket.
Wow.
So when I go around and talk to people, I literally say, when you give us money, every dime goes to India. And I can say it truly because my board is so wonderful.
Wow.
They cover it. Now, maybe when we get bigger, we won't be able to do that. But
Right.
so far, we've been able to, like, so last year, my board donated almost $400,000
Wow.
out of pocket. Isn't that amazing?
It's just nice to know, because I feel like often you see commercials on TV or you read about something and you want to get involved, but it's just sometimes it's like a daunting, like, where is my money really going? Is, you know, and it's nice just to have the founder herself here telling us that every penny, like she said, that's incredible.
The other fun thing is, like, when you're writing the children, if you sponsor a child, you know what's happening to them. They'll tell you. Kids are very honest about what's
Yes.
happening, right? And so you get to get a real feedback every month, or however much you want to write that child. You get a real feedback as to what's really going on in India.
Yeah. Jackson's, when we did a video, I think it was 2 years ago when we first, and we were sponsoring children, but I got a new debit card since then, which I feel guilty about. And so my payment got confused, but we actually got pictures of our kids that we were sponsoring, and we did get letters, and Jackson's grandpa got involved, and he tells us every time we talk to him on the phone still about his kids that he's sponsoring. And it's just been like a fun thing to be able to interact with them and get, you know, to know that your money is going for these specific children. It just makes you feel better about it. But
And it's really cute. When I go to India, the kids all on their name tags have their sponsor's name on the back. And they'll always come, Auntie, do you know this person? Do you know this person? You know, because they just want this connection.
Yeah.
And a lot of our sponsors have, believe it or not, come to India. We've had more than 100 sponsors a year actually show up in India, which
that's my goal.
I had no idea that would actually happen. But it's the cutest thing to see that bond that has been created between families. You know, there is something, this sounds so trite, but at Rising Star, we always say every life has equal value. And everyone believes that. I mean, like it's, but to me, honestly, that's the most profound thing I've learned, because I've now seen these people that were beggars on the street that now are productive and have skills that I would never dream of having. They're artists, or they're, I mean, all these things that every person that is born on this planet has God-given talents and abilities and skills, and they just need opportunity to develop them.
Right.
So we actually have a young girl that's won an international dance competition now.
Oh, wow.
That was a beggar on the streets. I mean, how fun is that,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And here's these kids performing at the top of their educational system. You see a kid begging on the street, and what do you think, honestly, inside of you? You
Yeah.
think, but when
Right.
you start
Right.
to
You
see
do.
them for what their
But then-
potential
Yeah.
is, you realize that every single child has potential.
Just given the right opportunity, a little bit of belief.
And a little love.
Yeah.
And a lot of love.
A lot of love. We'll sprinkle a lot of love.
And a lot of support.
It's amazing.
But then it's so cute. They're the ones now that want to go out and raise their colonies.
Yes.
You know, in fact, we'll teach them, for example, that you need to take a bath every day. They've never had a bath when they come to Rising Star. So they go home and teach their parents how important it is to take a bath every day.
Yes.
So we go to the colonies now and everyone's taking baths. In fact, one woman said to me, I take 6 baths a day. No.
Universal.
I mean, here's the kids teaching the parents hygiene, right? It's just really cute to see how you lift one in a family and the whole family can be raised.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have one colony where we started just the simplest little computer center. I mean, it's just like so basic. We've now graduated our 4th class of young adults from this little teeny computer center, and every one of them has gotten a job in the IT sector.
Wow. Oh, that's
So they've gone from begging to IT. How fun is that?
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah, and it's just these old computers, but you know, it's enough.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So it's
So
fun.
great to
I
hear
feel like-
what great things you are doing. I mean,
Thank you.
who
I
would
know.
have thought? I'm like, wow, I need to get out.
That's why I'm like, I'm really lacking
to
in
go
my
to
life right
India.
now.
No, but you know what I've learned is that each one of us has the power to make a difference in the
Right,
world.
yeah.
And we don't have to do thousands of people. If we
Right.
lift one,
Just start with one.
that one can start to lift others. And I mean, it's just like a wave that goes out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
You're so right.
you know, like I said, 2 years ago we were in one state, and now we're in 11,
That's incredible.
and getting ready to open up.
So 2
a
years
snowball.
when we talk again,
We'll be in 25.
Yes.
all over.
No, but I mean, truly, we each have within us a power to make a difference in the world. Just like going to Chennai now and driving for a week and never seeing a single leprosy beggar on the streets.
That's
How crazy is that, you know?
Make you feel so
incredible.
good.
Yeah.
So good.
And I think just getting involved, I think it's incredible what you did, and I wish I could do it too. But even to just get involved in these charities and to give and to feel a part of it, you don't have to start your own to help and make a difference.
Right.
Yeah.
No, we don't often go out and reinvent the wheel all over again, right? Because it's already going.
Right.
And I have to tell you that when we first started, we just stumbled and bumbled our way around India. We made so many mistakes because we didn't know what we were doing. It took us a long time to learn how to run a charity and how to actually make it work in a foreign country. So you're absolutely right. It's just, you can be just as impactful jumping in with someone that's already going and becoming a part of it.
Just doing a small part, a small donation.
Yeah.
Or even just becoming aware, you know, just sharing a link or sharing your story. I think that can really also get the ball rolling with maybe you can't give back at this time, but you want to help in a way. Just sharing this information and sharing your story can go a really long ways. And that's why I love our platform. We have that ability to, you know, share your story here today and feel like maybe we're helping.
I love that you all are doing this. Thank you. Thank you for this chance to tell our story.
Grateful. We are so grateful. You guys, make sure you guys check out the link down below. We will leave. I know you guys are they're really good about keeping up on their socials as well as the main website link, which is risingstar.outreach.org. But we will leave that down below. And thank you for being a guest.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
My heart
Thank
feels
you
so
much.
full and warm just from hearing your story. It's incredible.
Thanks. Well, y'all have a very happy holiday season. And maybe we'll have dozens of more little kids at Rising Star, right? As a result of this, would be awesome.
And Mom's Zoo is going to go to India. We're going to make that goal.
that would be
amazing. Thank you guys so much for watching. And again, if you guys want to get involved, which I know you all do, check out that link below. Leave some love for Becky down in the comments. It was nice for her to come because you're all the way from Washington, right? Yeah. So she made a long trek to come see us. So thank you for being here again.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next time on the Mom Zoo. Bye. Guys.
Bye.
Leprosy is curable disease. The medicine is free.
The medicine is free.
Some people are cured in just 1 dose. Leprosy is not very contagious. You can get it by just touching someone.
95% of the world is naturally immune to the bacteria that causes leprosy.
The other 5% can become infected if they are in poor health.
Calling someone leopard is not kind.
Using this term is similar to using racial slur.
Suggesting that someone is cursed and untouchable. We are not untouchable.
Appropriate terms to use are leprosy affected person or leprosy patient.
Education is the key to overcome stigma.
With proper education, our communities will learn that we are not to be feared or shunned.
Our society will understand that we are not cursed by God.
And our nation will learn that we have so much to offer as the rising generation.
The rising generation.
The rising generation.
The rising generation. The rising generation.